Hey guys, it's Adam with Water Rock Farming, and today I'm going to show you guys how we grow produce out here in the desert. Now, the first type of produce I'm going to show you guys that we grow and what we grow the most of is our tomatoes. And our tomatoes here, we have different types of varieties. We have what's called Ruggerts, we have Roma, and then we did beefsteaks too, and then also we did a Heirloom as well for our fourth one. And so there's a lot of different types of varieties, and when you're doing different types of varieties of tomatoes, understand that you're gonna need to treat each tomato differently based off of how it grows. So looking at the tomatoes, this first variety that we have here was actually, it's a Ruggerts. You can see like the way that we have the tomatoes growing, it's kind of all kind of chaotic really, but we make sure that it's staying off the ground with our trim job that we did there. But even this, some of these leaves are crusty here because they're older leaves and they might have a slight case of blight there. But the way they're growing is you just want to kind of keep them off the ground as much as possible and trim all these up. Now this one could definitely use a trim job. You can see that in it, we have a lot of fruit, and all this fruit's really small, so meaning that a lot of energy is going towards the growth of the plant rather than going towards the size of its fruit. So this is there, you can see not much bigger than my hand, even like a thumb really. Yeah, so a lot of it's not really going towards the energy of the fruits, but just more of the leaves and everything. So when you're doing tomatoes, you do want to make sure you stay up on the trimming, otherwise it gets pretty hectic. Out here in the desert, you got to understand the first thing about growing tomatoes is a lot of these tomatoes will say full sun, especially like the Roma. Those are supposed to be the most heat resistant, and just because it says full sun does not mean that it means full sun, full desert sun. So keep that in mind too. All the varieties that you're going to want to do, you're going to want to make sure that you keep them under a shade cloth. So use a shade cloth as much as possible. I would recommend nothing less than 50% to keep out as much sun as possible. Number two, a lot of the reasons why these leaves are also curled up is because heat. There's a lot of heat here in the desert, and we're growing in a high tonal rise system, which is like a hoop house. It's Gothic framed, and so it does build up a lot of heat in the top portions of the roof there. And so it gets really hot there, but also even down here, the heat comes through. The sides do roll up on each side, so we had those rolled up more when it was closer towards the summer, but they doesn't mean that the air is always it doesn't mean that the air is always breathing or blowing through. So you want to make sure that you do something. We had the doors open and everything too. You want to do something like have like a swamp cooler. A swamp cooler, I highly recommend just to have that on. This year our swamp cooler didn't have power to it, so we weren't able to keep the hoop house cool like we wanted to. So it got pretty hot, and a lot of the plants were suffering for it. A lot of the production took all the way up until now before it started to produce the fruits. But it is what it is. So, that's what agriculture is all about, is learning from your experiences and trying not to make the same mistakes twice, for next year and all that stuff. And so, yeah, the first type of variety that we have here is Ruggerts. The Ruggerts is it's a good variety. What's weird about it is they started to grow more long. They're supposed to be round and viney on their fruits and the way they grow and stuff, but these guys started to grow more like the Roma. So I don't know if it cross-pollinated with the Roma, because I heard that could happen if you grow the tomatoes next to each other. They could cross-pollinate or something. I'm not sure exactly, but correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, they're growing a lot more oblong. Oh, guess that one's ready. But they grow a lot more oblong and like the way a Roma would. But they're supposed to be more round and viney. So that's our first variety that we have here. Now we have quite a bit of different tomatoes. We have this whole row of tomatoes, so it's probably a good at least 40 plants or so. But the second variety that we have here is a beefsteak. This is what a beefsteak is out here in the desert when you have a whole bunch of them. They usually get massive. Now if I kept up on trimming, we would probably have a lot more than that. But look, even some of these are small, and that could be to the exhaustion. A lot of these leaves are kind of messed up too, due to heat exhaustion this year. So the plants are still trying to get out of that that mold right there. So that's where the beefsteaks kind of turned out to be so far. I'll show some other ones too. Again, I'll show you other plants too. I have a numerous amount of each type, so we'll get to showing like other types as well. But this is the beefsteak, and then the other third that we have here is a Roma. And this is the Roma plant itself, the size of it. Now you can kind of see with the Roma how different it grows. The vines here are just really a lot different looking. They'll break off, so it gets really hard to learn how to trim a Roma, because if you cut off something like here, that might be like half of the tree right there. You have no idea, because it just grows so veinous, like almost like a spider web or something, like the way that just one arm will grow off another thing and stuff. So trimming it is going to be pretty hard, and I do have to get another trim job here on this one. But you would see like how much, yeah, see this is like, that's a little guy, so that's what we will want to go for. So I'll kind of give you a demonstration here. Just pull out my Leatherman. It's not recommended to use like scissors that you just have, but I do it all the time, and it's not a good thing. But let's trim that off a little bit there. And then like just that one vine here, you can see how it grows. This would be like a whole nother section after that extends that way. Well, this is going up, that one's going to go down, and it could get pretty hectic trying to trim up tomatoes. So, and then I got to clip this up there too, so I'll do that later. But yeah, it could get very hectic, especially when they start fruiting. You don't want to cut off a branch that's producing. You want to make sure you're cutting off stuff that's not fruiting. And that's the whole section here. This is all the Romas here. And then we got another little beefsteaks coming in there too. Those guys are short plants, and they make a lot of fruit, and they're like the more typical tomato too, besides the Ruggerts. That little Roma there too. It's cute. So some more Romas. Another beefsteak. And then, but the other type of the Ruggerts, from the first one that I showed you there, the same types over here in the middle of the greenhouse grew a lot different. And it's the same type of seeds and everything. We didn't do anything really totally different. And look at these guys. I did really good on the trim jobs here, so I'm kind of proud of that, but it still needs to be cut off. A lot of this here, this should be cut off too. Don't need that whole spot right there, you know. And that's another thing too about with tomatoes. The more aggressive you are on the trimming, the more better your fruit's going to be, because it's going to be able to focus. You're going to put the energy towards the fruit. See, like that too. Knowing how to cut these is important. You have to learn from different types of tomatoes on how to cut them. Maybe I'll do a video on that later or something. But like these ones, see, they always split. They make two heads here, and they come off. And so like you have to understand, like, okay, you only want one head, so you have to cut that one off and keep this one, or is that even necessary, because we have enough heads up here? So you want to make sure most energy is always going to the top. So it's a game that likes to play with my ADD for sure, and I'm just kind of everywhere on it, trying to trim it up, make decisions which heads you want to keep and all that too. Make sure no bottom growth is happening too. You want to always take that off so there's no excess energy going towards anything that's unproductive and fruitful. So this is the Ruggerts, but these ones didn't produce much at all. Like, look at, that's my one fruit out of all of this. So I've been sitting here trimming this whole thing for what now? You know, we got flowers, but we don't got any production on this whole plant. Oh, except for over here, but yeah, it's a nice one. But this might be a different type of variety though. Yeah, so here we're going into the heirlooms actually. So we don't have anything for these Ruggerts. We have that one Ruggert over there that was producing a lot of fruits, but they're small, and they're kind of like, well, they're kind of like, they're small fruits, and they're kind of like the grape tomatoes rather than actual Ruggerts, the way that you would think them to be. But this new heirloom was, we found a organic purple heirloom, and we took the seeds out of that, and we planted it this year just to see what it was going to do, and the plant sprouted and everything. So we harvested the seeds correctly, and it's supposed to be purple, and these things are coming in, they look like they're about to be purple, but when they actually mature, they turn into like a red, and then that green stays on top there. So it's like a red and green, really thick, delicious, flavorful heirloom though, nonetheless. But it's supposed to be purple, and it's not. But those things are producing the way you want them to be. Like, look at that guy in here. Big old fat juicy mamas. Love it. You love to see that. It looks like, oh, success is a beautiful thing, you know. Success is a beautiful thing. And these are heirlooms, and so heirlooms, if you're going to sell them, those are worth the most. So if you have success growing heirlooms, then you're on the right track, as far as you know, profit and production goes that way. But that's why it's good to do different types of varieties, so you could see and learn what's going to be growing the best. And you want to make sure and log those type of things and write those type of varieties down, so you could keep repeating and growing and going after the things that are the most successful. We do a lot of experiments on this farm. That's pretty much what we are, as an experimental farm when it comes to our produce and everything. So we see stuff like that, very excited, very happy. You know, that's a good size one too. Look at, yeah, that's a big one. Anyway, so we get very happy when we see success like that. It's a, you know, important thing to keep it going, to see success like that. So thank goodness. Another one that we have here, which I planted quite a bit of these, I didn't know, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 of them produced that much, going all the way across. And it seems that every single plant has fruit on it. You could even see that coming in nice. Yeah. And then some more little guys that are going to be growing all the way up until the frost hits. And using the high tunnel rice system, what's good about it too is that it's going to help you extend your growth season. So the difference between a greenhouse and a high tunnel rice system is a greenhouse you can actually regulate the temperature on. So you could turn a high tunnel rice system into a greenhouse or a hoop house if you wanted to, by placing, you know, air controlled or climate controls, such as heat and cooling devices of any sort, like a swamp cooler or a propane tank, you know, for a propane heater or something like that inside it. So when you start doing that, then that's what makes it into a greenhouse. But if it's not a greenhouse and it's a high tunnel rice system, then that means you just having a cover of it and then still just using the sun for the warmth and stuff. So it helps you extend your grow year throughout the frost. And so hopefully we're going to be able to have plenty of tomatoes here all through fall and winter, until major frost comes in. The temperature does drop below the freezing, and then that's when these guys aren't going to be able to hold in, pretty much eat dirt literally, because they're going to be composted. So yeah, so this is pretty much it. Oh, there's another one here too. Yeah, so here's another Ruggerts, much like the one in the front. I planted the Ruggerts in because I had the most of them. So everything else after I just done planting, I started planting more Ruggerts and Romas too. There's a lot of mixture there too. So the Romas didn't really produce too much. These are just kind of same as like what was in the front. If you can even find any fruit on these ones. See, some of these still trying to recover from the heat. So they're just not producing that well. That's just all foliage. And yeah, and then there was these guys here that actually started to produce, which is interesting because it's like the ones I was trimming, you know, the ones I was trimming produced nothing, but should have had, because they were more concentrated at the top. But the ones that kind of went more wild produced a lot, but they're just really small fruits. So it's like really small little dudes. And they're growing a lot like Roma. So I'm wondering if that cross-pollination thing is actually real. So if you guys know anything about that, feel free to, you know, liberate me a little bit and let me know, because that is just crazy. Because last year the Ruggerts were more like beefsteaks and they were round, but they grew like these on the vines like that and everything too. So again, these need to be trimmed up a little bit and stuff. And yeah, it looks like they're getting a little blighted up. So that could be from watering. You know, the tarps, the good thing about the tarps is it's another thing that you want to add in and really consider out here in the desert, because other things are going to start growing in if you don't tarp it. And also this keeps it to where if any fruit falls down, it's on the tarp and it's not contacting the soil so much, which helps out too with other produce like greens and stuff too. So I would also consider making sure you tarp it. This is our first year doing that. We did a regenerative ag practice, which you can check out in my other videos. And this is pretty much a continuing video off of that to show you how well the practice actually worked. If you want to know more about that, you can check out our other videos. But basically, we grew a cover crop and then pat it down and put the tarps down and plant it directly into that. So you could find out more information on that by checking our other videos, which we'll put a link up to for you. And that's the tomato side of this. And now we're going to go over and check out our peppers and see how well they did. All right, guys, so now we're on to the peppers here. The first type of peppers that we have is called bell peppers. And these are red bell peppers. And I was kind of not sure if I wanted to do bell peppers this year, but these guys, I'm glad I did, because these are nice. And they're coming out really good. If I could have done it differently, I would have put these guys in with the other peppers that are more its height. So they're not just in the front here, and I would have put these in the back. But they're doing great. We already had a few harvests off of them. Yeah, they just go straight from this color to a little bit of a black and then red. And a nice, beautiful red and greenish mix. And then leave them on the countertop to get a very bright red. So these guys, we had a bunch of harvests on already. A lot of heads broke off too and everything too, but yeah, they're rocking it. So we're just gonna let them do their thing. Good thing about this tarp being down is if the fruit is sitting down on there, they're just sitting on the tarp, and so they're not getting dirty or anything. So that's a good thing. A couple more plants of the same thing here. Yeah, we're talking a little bit before, I think, about trellis, or maybe I didn't mention that, but the biggest thing I want to do next year is I want to put a trellis in here, but I didn't know what height these plants are going to grow. So now that I do, I'm going to log their generalized height, make sure that when I'm planting them together, we plant them in their own location so we could match the trellises up right with them. So, and the reason we want to do trellis is because of the next pepper here that we have. It's called the Cayenne, and this is what she looks like. You see she's all tied up. It would have been a lot better if we had the trellis set up with like 2 poles on each side here, or yeah, 2 poles on each side here, and the trellis is kind of going right there about half its height, so get it while it's young, and then it grows into there, and by the time it fruits, they would just sit on the trellis instead of having to drop down, and then you have to start tying up the strings, which just kind of looks all, webby and not that good looking, but still gotta do what we gotta do. And right now what we have is just a string, so we're using that. But the fruits of these things, the Cayennes produce really well out here in the desert. They're just going to be one of those things that are going to keep popping up fruits. They just start popping them out like crazy, though. Every single branch on them has like a fruit, which made it really hard to trim it up. And sacrifices are necessary. So yes, you can see like inside here, I did trim it to begin with, and I'm going to have to do it again with those little guys coming out there. But then it kind of just stopped because they're starting to produce the fruit, and I didn't know what to cut off and what all to keep and stuff. So got to discipline myself and learn to sacrifice for the sake of the other fruits to be able to grow and more better, because cutting it off is going to make the fruits on the top, yeah, larger, better tasting, and more productive. So it's a good sacrifice, and that's the thing you have to kind of remember and remind yourself, which is hard. But next up, after the cayenne peppers, which I think those are Thai chili peppers, cayenne peppers. So, but is the jalapenos here. We have the jalapenos, and the jalapenos, we have not had a harvest yet of these type of jalapenos at all. So they are just starting to produce, and it's because of timing. If I didn't mention before, timing is everything. You got to make sure that you're getting the stuff in the ground at the right time. We were a month late, I believe. We got them in the grounds around June, when we should have been in the ground by May. And if we were in the garden by May, then we would have had harvest right by now, like last month in like August or so, during the heat and stuff. So because they would have been more established and not having to struggle during the hottest parts of the months and the heat the heat strain that was going on with them. So yeah, you can see this stuff on them. They got a little shiny, and I believe that's aphids. So we have a bit of an aphid infestation on this plant here. So I'm gonna have to treat it with neem oil. So we don't use chemicals at all. That would contradict the whole reason what we do. So definitely not gonna do that. But yeah, this is aphids for sure. So if it gets overwatered, then you're gonna start getting pests. So besides timing, and besides how you're gonna trellis everything and all the other things I mentioned, another thing you're gonna have to really figure out to do is with pests. Yeah, we use neem oil, and also there's other things like moderated BT that you could use for like caterpillars and thrips, I believe. And then there's also spinosad. Spinosad. It's hard to do it without a southern accent. I don't know how to say that. Spinosad. See, it's just every single time. So yeah, we use those type of things. There's other types of organic pest controls that you're going to be using. Most of them you got to use a lot more, because it's not a chemical that's just going to kill all the crap. It's something that takes more of a preventative task. So you want to stay on top of that type of stuff. Like immediately after I'm doing this video, I'm going to hit it with some neem oil. Neem oil to me is the best. It's just an oil that a tree produces, and I'd rather be putting that onto the plants than anything else. So, and you can use that pretty much all the way through harvest and everything too. So it's good stuff. Here's a plant that looks like still has a little bit of the problems. Yeah, but it's not nearly as bad. So that means whatever was over here is spreading onto over here too. But this one is, see, like these ones, they're at the same size. The jalapenos, nicely growing. Those guys are about ready. I don't think they don't really get too big out here where we're at. So those are, everything looks like it's about ready. The way you know when they're ready is they will start kind of looking like that a little bit. They'll get those lines a little bit, the cracks, but they'll get like a little bit of like a black on them and maybe start turning slightly red too as well. So, and then that's when you know you can harvest them and stuff. But so it's not always about the size with these jalapenos for sure. So up next now, after the jalapenos, is our sweet peppers. I believe these are California sweet peppers. And these bad boys are doing pretty decent. They've been putting out like crazy our first year with these, and they came in orange and yellow. So these guys, yeah, the same type of plant, same type of pepper, but they, yeah, come out different colors and stuff, and they do produce a lot. You can see just all the peppers that are just on these guys, and it looks like they're getting a little bit of something too, yeah, because it's coming over from the jalapenos. So gotta stay on it, gotta have to spray immediately, especially now that the weather is low. The heat, the temperature is low. I could spray during the day and it'd be fine. It was hard to be on it too in the summertime because you can't use neem oil during the summer. Anytime it gets over 90 degrees, the oil on the leaves could actually start burning the plant. So temperature is a big thing, you know, even when you're doing your treatments. So keep that in mind too. All right, and there's more of the same things. It looks like also getting a little blight, so we gotta have to, they haven't done any compost teas or anything like that so lately. So that's a sign that we probably have to start doing a little more of that. But it's just like that feeling inside the back of your mind to where you're just kind of thinking like, okay, so if I do a treatment right now, is it gonna be worth it, or are we gonna get a frost tomorrow and everything dies, you know? So timing. Some more of the same things. These ones are doing a lot better. You see that gap that we have there from that plant, you know, that gap right there is probably what saved these things from getting anything. So yeah, these don't have anything. These are clean decently, but still got to do the whole treatment when we're doing it on everything. So same of the same. It's just a difference also too is we clipped up these ones off some stakes using tomato clips and kept them up a little bit. There's a branch that's not clipped. You can see what it does. It just kind of grows out like that, trees up. And we did trim these a little bit earlier when they first were growing, but stopped. And yeah, after the fruit started to come through and everything, and then we just kind of clipped them up, and they grow a lot better when they're clipped up like that. Well, a lot easier to keep the fruit off of the ground or on the tarp. But again, if they did grow and down and were on this tarp, that's not too bad, but still I just don't want things to crawl on them and everything. And so we had to clip them up. But so next year, definitely going to use a trellis, I think, and then follow so that the ropes still snap and fall down and stuff, and the strings could snap. You know, it's just a little too much. So I think trellis would probably be the definite best way to do it. So, and that, my friends, kind of concludes all of our the tomatoes and the peppers so far. So I'll show you a little bit about how we did with the greens, and give you some information about that here next. All right, guys. So this is our greens grow here. We have different types of varieties, but this is the only ones that were doing like the best here. These guys have been growing since, I think, yeah, since the same time we got them in the ground, so it was in June. We have more greens that we have in pots over there in the sides, and you know, the greens are something that you want to grow year round. They can handle some little bit of frost. It's not going to hurt them, but you only get a little bit in the desert too, and they'll just keep providing you nutrition throughout, you know, the whole year. A lot of times they do get heat stressed, and then this happens to them. And I don't know if they even come out of that. And it could have had, this also could be something else as well. But they got heat stressed too, and they at least kind of start curling. And then, you know, so they kind of produce slowly in the summer. But then when the weather gets better, like this time of year, it starts, they start producing like crazy. And they do really well here. So, but yeah, they got hit with something. And so a lot of them got knocked out, which we're planting new ones already in the starters section. And then we're just going to put those in here once they're ready, and we're just going to keep rocking out with the greens. Another strategy that we use out here water rock farming is we also use pots and stuff too. And our pot grows get a lot of like black widows or something like that, like webs and stuff in them. But the soil is really nice. I'm gonna have to do a water here in a second, but all that white stuff right there, that's all mycelium and like positive stuff, and that's a good stuff. It's a good sign. But there is worms in there, so I'm gonna have to keep those wet and keep those water too. But this is chard, and it's doing right. It's growing really nicely. One thing that does happen when they grow in the pots, I don't know if it's the worms or what, but they get elongated, like just really long. And then they bush up a lot too. But see, like even over here, this is our small, I think these are the Georgia greens or something like that. But look, they got all these heads, and they literally turn into like some sort of like palm tree. They palm out like crazy. This one's like split headed and stuff too, but that's just one plant. And then it gets all those heads, and it grows crazy on the outside pots like that. So the pots, they grow pretty nuts. Yeah, see that? Like that doesn't happen when it's in the ground, but I don't know if that's the worm castings or not. But if you guys have any ideas, please let me know. Feel free to leave a comment or something like that. But yeah, these guys are getting dry. But leave a comment, let me know. But yeah, it's just interesting. But the soil is really good in there. I think what I'm going to probably do is not do so much of the greens anymore. Once I get the other sides of the greens and everything like that too planted into the ground over here, I'm going to just probably use this for more rooted vegetables, where you eat the roots, or whatever the word is for that, you know, tubulars, or like onions and garlic and stuff like that too. So here we have onions. We did a little bit of experiment this year. This is onions growing from seed that we separated, and then we put them in the ground. Yeah, these guys are taking off really well. Yay. Just got to get some water. Yeah, they're getting really dry today. Well, it's not too bad in there. But so this is a experiment. So these are the onions done from seed, and then I have to separate them and then put them in there. And so now they're doing really good, getting like a little longy and stuff, but they look pretty good compared to over here. These are onions that are done. Wow, those things are doing really good, beefy. These are onions done from the butt end of organic onions that we got. Got a whole huge bag of like organic onions from like Costco, and kept all the butts, and then we just put the butts down over here after we processed and used the other ones. So these guys are doing really well too. Thinking these are going to be done before the ones are done from seed, and it takes a lot less work. I learned that it takes a lot less work and a lot less time to just use the butt end of a onion. So you just recycle it pretty much. You know, you take it, what do you want from it, and you put it back in the ground and let it regrow. And that's a lot easier and better to do than to use onions from seed. But that's our opinion. And again, these guys, look how long these are. Palm trees of greens. Like, just never seen that, you know? It's just crazy. Palm trees of greens. But yeah, these guys are getting dry. And then we got some other stuff too that's not too growing, looking too well or anything. But this is garlic. Garlic, this was planted in September, same time as the onions, and it's already sprouted. Here in the desert, one of the best things to grow, that's probably going to be the most profitable for you, is garlic. Garlic takes a lot less time to grow in the desert than it does other places. And that's getting, they could grow year round too. So it could deal even with the heat as long as they're established decently. And usually you'll harvest right before the major heat comes in, like around June if you plant in February. And then these ones were planted in September and are going to be able to be harvested most likely before like in May or June at the latest. So garlic is supposed to take 6 to 9 months to grow, and it's a little bit less, couple months less in the desert here. So these are what you want to be focusing on, and so that's what I'm thinking about planting mostly in all these pots. Besides onions, it's just garlic, so I'm going to take off on those as much as possible. So if you guys like this video, please feel free to share it, guys. Like it. You know, if you can subscribe to our channel if you want to get more videos and see what else we're doing and keep up on how the progress is in the farm and everything. So we appreciate your support. Also, guys, check out our Facebook page. Follow us on that, and also our website too if you're interested. We also grow what is our main cash crop, CBD hemp, and we have our own product there, fully integrated of how we do it, and we grow it like the way we grow our vegetables, you know, with organic practices and everything. So check us out at waterrockfarming.com, and again, like and subscribe. Keep following us. Help us out, and we help you out. Communitize, as we said in the last videos. All right, guys. Thank you.